musicians, what if you've been looking at content completely wrong? Listen, I know the feeling. You're out there, you're posting content consistently, and then all of a sudden you start to notice things aren't growing anymore, and you're starting to get frustrated, and you start getting tired of the game. You're getting tired of the content creation game, and you start throwing your hands up and saying, oh, I'm not an influencer, I'm not a this, I'm not a that, and it leads to frustration, overwhelm, and really just a bad time in the music business. So the big issue here is we're looking at things completely backwards, really. And I mean that because I've talked to a lot of musicians face to face. I've seen a lot of interactions on Threads and Twitter and stuff like that. And the biggest problem is that most musicians struggle with how they look at this game, how they look at the content creation game. And because of the frame they have on it, it makes their experience like not just not enjoyable, but it's affecting the content. And it seeps through into the content. And today, I want to share with you exactly how you can look at content the way it's supposed to be looked at, instead of looking at it from the way that's been causing you frustration and ultimately leading your content to stagnate, okay? So let's lock in and let's learn how to fix this problem. So number one, the term content creator has become kind of an issue because it's a term that is so universal and general that it sort of applies to everyone. And the way that most musicians specifically think of the term content creator is they think of somebody on TikTok who's maybe an affiliate selling a bubble machine or something, or they're like, listen, this is the greatest screwdriver I've ever seen in my entire life. You know, we're over here rebuilding the studio, and so I've got tools and stuff laying around. But that's what we think of content creators, people out there that are making content, hawking some kind of product, and selling all the time. Or maybe you're thinking of influencers, right? The people who try to flex and always be in cool places and eat nice food and take pictures of themselves looking cool and in great spots so that they had this sort of authority as the cool person. That is not what being a content creator really is when you get down to how musicians use it. However, that's the way that we view it. And misunderstanding the term content creator makes us not want to create content. Because here's the thing. It's sort of a redundant term, right? Like, for example, if you're a musician in the 80s and 90s and you're out there making music videos with the label trying to get people to pay attention to your newest single, right? You were still a content creator in what this really is, meaning you were creating digital media that was used to attract people into the stores to buy your records, into the concert halls to pay for tickets to see you live, right? That was the deal. You were creating content, that was the music videos, that was going to be played on the distribution channels like MTV, VH1. You can think of that like TikTok and YouTube and all the different social media platforms. And so we created this content, music videos, so that we could share it on these distribution platforms, television stations, and hopefully get people interested in the music to come into our world. That's really what content creation is. But no one would look at an artist in the 80s and 90s creating music and be like, you guys are just music videoers or something kind of like that. You guys are just out here creating music videos. You're not even artists. You're music videographers. No, nobody ever thinks about it like that way. I mean, maybe some haters did back in the day. Who knows? But that's not how we view it today. We look at, they were just making, stuff that promoted their music and gave it a cool kind of thing. Wait, what was that? They were just promoting their music and giving it a kind of cool medium that people could consume it. That's kind of fun and engaging and interesting. It's like I've seen that on my phone, scrolling up and down for hundreds of hours over the past decade. Yeah, that's exactly what content is. So we look at things like, oh man, I don't want to be a content creator. When we say that, we're thinking of the people doing the trendy things on TikTok, and we're thinking of people hawking products and trying to be too cool for school. That's not what this is. What this is I'm a musician, I'm an artist, I've got this thing that I think is valuable, and I want to share this to as many people as possible. So what can I do? Well, back in the day, I would have made music videos and put them on VH1 and MTV, but that's not really a thing anymore. So what do people consume entertainment from? Oh, they have these phones now that have social media apps on them, and they consume the entertainment inside the apps? Okay. Well, do some of them like long form and some of them like short? Okay. You get? This is how we should look at content. It's just another way, another channel, a stream that we can start to promote our music down. right? We overthink this stuff so much, and this is kind of leading me to the second issue, which is we start thinking in ways that serve the platform and then ultimately feel burnt out and feel like all we're doing is serving the platform. Well, yeah, you feel like you're just serving the platform because you're taking the actions and viewing things the way the platforms want you to view the things, as opposed to looking at them as an entrepreneur and a business person inside of the music business. And I know some people are like, well, I'm an artist, I'm not a business person. Listen, I know you're an artist if you're a musician. That's indisputable. However, if you're going to become a professional to where you want this to start bringing you some income and some revenue to help pay for some bills or something like that, then you got to start treating it like a business, okay? That's first and foremost. But if you look at it as a business instead of like listening to what the platforms tell you, the platform propaganda, we could call it, then you'll start to see that, the platform wants you to do things to increase watch time, increase the amount of views that you get. So there's ways to engineer that. Like, for example, if I started a video off with me, interrupting someone who's in the bath and all you see is their legs and they're in the bathtub and you don't see anything inappropriate, right? But you can tell that they're in the bath, and then like I start walking in, I'm like, hey, and I start getting in the bath with them. Someone's going to keep watching that because they're like, what is going on right now? So yeah, the platform can engineer people's behaviors to do things that keep people on the platform longer. But does that mean that's always what's going to be best for our music business? No, not necessarily. Sure, there may be a trend going on right now where, you do the thing, maybe it's the ice bucket challenge or the Grimace shake videos. Remember, those trends come and go, right? And being a content creator is not about following those things, right? Because that kind of thing serves the platform, not serving our fans or serving our music business. So I want you to think about it like this. The views and all that kind of stuff will empower the platform, right? But if you can build a genuine connection with the right people, that's what's going to empower the artists. That's what's going to empower the musicians. If we use social media as a way that we can connect, it's a channel of connection between you and the masses so that you can put your music out there, demonstrate it in a way that gets people to go, whoa, that's really cool. And they start to build a connection with you. We don't just want views. We don't just want comments. We don't just want followers even. We want people to build a connection with us, right? And so this is a big issue. We get caught up in these labels and definitions, and we say things like, Dax, I didn't sign up for, to become an influencer. I didn't sign up to become a content creator. I hate to be the one to break it to you, but yes, you did. You absolutely signed up for this. The moment you said, I'm not going to be a hobbyist with my music anymore, you just committed to being an influencer. Because what is an influencer? Someone who influences masses of people. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Britney Spears influenced masses of people? Do you think Prince, Michael Jackson influenced masses of people? Do you think AC/DC, Metallica? Do you think, whatever, name some giant artist that you love. Do you think they influence masses of people? Well, then they are by definition an influencer because they influence. And so when you decided to become a non-hobbyist musician, you decided, okay, I'm going to influence people to like my music and support my music business. So we have to make peace with that. And we have to understand that, okay, if that's the truth then I've got to figure out, how do I use this content thing to my advantage? So when we're finding out how to build connections, what do? We start to speak to the things that actually matter to the people we're trying to communicate to. I know that sounds simple for some, but identify who you're trying to reach. I can tell you right now, if I'm Metallica, my core audience is pretty defined. Or if I'm Taylor Swift, it's a very, very defined audience. Who is that for you? And you got to start speaking to what these people care about. Now, that doesn't mean changing who you are to fit to what other people need. Don't misunderstand. It's a balancing act. You have to figure out, how do I present myself in a way that's authentic to me, but is authentic in a way that's not just comfortable. People misunderstand authentic and comfortable and inauthentic and uncomfortable. It's like, listen, just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean you're inauthentic. And just because you're comfortable doesn't mean you're being authentic. Right? You need to understand that sometimes getting out of your comfort zone is a good thing, because let's say you're not demonstrating your authentic self. Like, for example, if you believe that you have room to grow, then you believe by default that authentic does not just mean comfort. So you have to be able to grow if you genuinely believe in authenticity. And then you have to think, okay, how do I take the personality traits that I have and just crank them up to 10 for my music business brand? So that way I'm not being someone who I'm not, but I'm kind of turning it up. I'm being a little bit theatrical with it so that I can bring people in. So that's the first element. That's the who am I type of thing in the music business. Then you have to do who are they. Then you have to look at, okay, now that I know who I am, what's the way that someone like me is going to communicate with that person that I'm trying to attract in a way that forms a bridge of connection, right? So no matter what genre, it doesn't matter. You want to touch on the life experiences that your fan is going through right now. Okay, I always use this example because it's fun. I like to have fun on this channel, which is, if you're a country singer, okay, listen to me very, very carefully. I'm going to give you the keys to the kingdom right now. Your dream fan right now just broke up with their horse and they're drinking beer in their truck, which is about to leave them because the truck is cheating on them with another horse. It's a big mess. So if you start writing about those things, no, you start writing about the day-to-day things that are happening to the people inside of your dream fan avatar, let's call it. You're going to be starting to speak on what they actually care about. You're going to start connecting with them because you're speaking on what they care about from the position of knowing who you are. So again, notice the positioning. It's not, let me change who I am so I can speak to what they care about. It's, how do I, with my brand as it is, communicate to that person to create a bridge of connection? So that way you're bringing them to where you are, right? But you have to meet them where they're at. So does that make sense? You are where you are. You've got your brand, but you're bringing them, meeting them where they're at so that you can bring them to where you are. So we have to understand this connection. And then the kind of final thing I want to talk about today in regards to looking at content creation, looking at social media, is it's the top of funnel. Now, what does that mean? A lot of people think the purpose of social media is, let me get a whole bunch of followers. That's a symptom of doing audience building. That's not audience building. I mentioned this in a video before recently, which is that a lot of people think the purpose of social media is to get followers, when really the purpose of social media is to build an audience. And building an audience and getting followers are not the same thing. Because what happens when a social media platform shuts down overnight? Your followers go with it. So was it really your audience? More like you rented it from Zuckerberg and Musk and whoever else, right? So we have to think social media is top of funnel. So how do I take people with this connection that I've built from the social media world, the top of it, maybe to like a group? You take them from Facebook to a Facebook group. You take them from Instagram, put them in your Instagram close friends list. And some people misunderstand what I mean when I say your Instagram close friends. Close friends is a feature. I don't mean like your actual buddies in high school that were your close friends. That's not what I mean when I say add them to a close friends list. There's an actual function and feature called close friends in Instagram. So what you do is you take them maybe from socials to these groups, right? So that you can communicate to them specifically one-on-one, but they're still on the platform, so there's not a lot of pressure. It's an easy sell, so to speak, right? Well, you've got the people who like you enough to join these little free groups here. Now we could start to advance them further. Now we can start to move them from the group level down into our email list or our text SMS list. And that's when we actually start to own our audience. We own the traffic, we own the list, however you've heard this phrased. We start to actually build an audience because we can reach them at any given day, any given time, any given moment. That's an audience. Sure, people say, oh, I've got that with social media. I'm like, even if you've got 1 million followers, you do not have access to all 1 million of them. You do not. But if you have 1 million people in an email list, you have direct access to all 1 million of them. There's no algorithm, unless they gave you a bad email, that's going to prevent you from actually reaching them, right? So you have to understand that social media is just the top of the funnel. So when you're thinking about the content that you're creating, don't get so stressed out about, all my fans on social media are going to think X, Y, and Z. What I like to think about is, I know this sounds kind of funny, because I talked about serving fans. I really meant serving potential fans and somewhat serving your existing fans. But to me, social media is where I go find new fans. That's where I get new blood for the business. The email and some of these groups, that's where I serve the people who are already fans and make content for the most part that's warm, for warm people, not for the cold people who don't know who I am. That's a big mistake a lot of musicians make too, is they'll post content that's like, what's going on? Dax here from Cure, we're just sitting here, we're gonna do this, blah, 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 blah. It's like, dude, you've already lost 90% of people because most people don't care about my name or who I am or what band I'm in. You need to speak to something that they care about immediately, right? So there's that perspective of it. A lot of musicians are talking to the social media world as if it's their warm audience, people who know them and like them and trust them, when really the majority of the people they're probably talking to have no idea who they are. So you got to speak to that person. It's going to change how you talk to them, isn't it? Right? You're going to talk to someone who's your best friend differently than someone you just now met, right? Your content needs to be the same kind of way. Your reels are like meeting someone for the first time. Hey, how's it going? And what can you say to, pull them into the conversation, so to speak? That's the metaphor. Now, if they're already friends of yours, that's like the people that are in the Facebook group. Those are the people that are in, the Instagram close friends list. And then you bring them to like go have dinner or something, and they buy you dinner. That's, whatever metaphor you want to use here. But you have to look at it kind of relationally. That social media is basically mostly for cold traffic. People who don't know who you are, have never heard of you, they're discovering you for the very first time. And so that's what 90% of the content should be. And then the group stuff, you'll talk to people who are fans. Hey, what's going on? It's Dax from this, blah, 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 because they understand who I am. They actually know me, like me, and trust me. Then in the email list, that's where we'll tell like intimate stories. That's where we'll sell things hard. That's where we'll go towards that route, right? But the social media serves as this sort of, you're a fisherman throwing out fishing lines out into ponds, and every platform is a pond, right? And every piece of content is a line that you've just casted out into the pond. So what you want to do is just be like, all right, every platform I can, I'm going to throw as many lines as I can. And when you delete a video, you're pulling a line out of the water. So don't be one of those people that posts a piece of content, it doesn't do well, and then you delete it. Because that's like a fisherman having his line in the water for 5 minutes and then going, there's no fish, I'm going home. And just pulls the line out of the water and goes home. You don't want to do that. Leave them in there. I've had videos, lines, that have sat in ponds, YouTube, for like 2 years, and then eventually a bite happens, and all of a sudden there's this huge spike in views, and I don't know what happened. The algorithm just kind of did its little voodoo ghost in the machine magic, and boom, now this thing got picked up. But if I had taken that video down, because I'm like, it doesn't have very many views right now. For 2 years, it doesn't have very many views, less than 200. I wouldn't have ever got that boost where it got to 16,000 or whatever, because I would have taken it out of the pond. But you got to keep your content out there as like lines out in the pond, trying to catch as many fish as possible, aka get the fans in, right? Then we reel them in, and we have to have somewhere to put them. We can't just say like, oh yeah, hey guys, look, I caught this fish. I caught this new fan. And they're going to be like, great, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to put it in the box, which is like your email list? Like, no, I'm going to keep it in the water. That's what most musicians are doing when they don't take people from social media down to the next level of the funnel. That's the equivalent of a fisherman getting a bunch of fish and then just keeping them in the water, not actually reeling them in and capturing them so that they could have some good dinner, right? We're out here ignoring and kind of leaving fans on, in a position where they're not going to really connect with us unless we figure out, how do I drive you to the next level, right? How do I take you from, I have no idea who you are, speak about things that you care about so I can build that connection. And then from that connection, I can start building them into the point where they'll want to join the email list. And then from there, I can actually sell them something. Now I've got the quote unquote fish into the box, into the bag, ready to go. Because now I can reach out to them, I can sell to them, I can start building more rapport, deeper rapport. So hopefully this video has given you guys a fresh outlook on what the purpose of social media is, and hopefully you view yourself and your role within it a lot better. Because when you're out there and you're doing the things that the platform wants you to do, it's inevitably going to lead to burnout. But if you're out there just trying to genuinely figure out how to build connection with your fans, and you view it like a mad scientist, like, I'm not even going to put any expectation into this piece of content. I'm just trying to figure out what connects, and just be curious. And then one day you'll get a catch, you'll get a bite on the line, and you'll figure out, ooh, this works. Let me try to do more things like this. Right? And then you'll figure out some systems and actually start to get some compound growth going in your channel. But the problem is never going to get solved if we look at ourselves from this perspective of like, oh, I'm just an artist, I'm not a content creator, I'm not a this, I'm not a that. No, you're more than what you give yourself credit for. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. And if you'd like some one-on-one help implementing the systems that take people from social media into email list and from email list into actual supporters, then click the link that's in the description to apply for a one-on-one coaching call. I'd love to see if I could help you out to improve your music business. So if that's something that's interesting to you, click the link that's in the description. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.